my focus is basically the challenges for the automotive industry and the polymer industry as we move forwards. So I'll start with a little bit of background and scene setting, move on to the main challenges that's facing the auto industry, and then basically we'll have a look at current material uses and where we're going in the future. I'll touch briefly on the lightweighting challenge because I think Ian did a very good explanation of that, so I'll go through my slides fairly quickly. And then the main focus of the presentation will be how we can work together. What are the challenges for the polymer industry and what opportunities there are to work together. And then as a final summary, basically a little bit of crystal ball gazing and predictions as to where we may be moving to and what the opportunities are for increasing polymer application. Now, a little scene setting. Don't want to go into too much detail over corporate strategy and things like that, but basically to keep my boss happy, just to give you a little bit of feedback regarding Nissan and where we are. We're basically a global player now, and although we are Japanese in origin, our business is all around the world, and we have production sites in most major countries around the world. As probably most people are aware, we have a very strong partnership and alliance with Renault. This was founded back in 1999, and it's been one of the most successful in the automotive industry, and indeed in all industries put together. We work very closely with our Renault colleagues, and I'll announce shortly we've expanded this alliance a little further, so we're hoping to follow the role model that we put in place with the alliance and take it some steps further forwards. One of the biggest benefits from our activity is our combined purchasing function. So similar to what Ian was saying about our purchasing strategy and direction, this is across 3 organizations now to get volume benefits and standardization of materials. This helps us drive out the cost of our product, but also benefits us at the end of life of the product for recycling, because we have more standard materials and the industry can assist us to recycle and reprocess those materials more easily. So the big new announcement just last week is our 3rd alliance partner member, which is Mitsubishi Motor Company. So there was a press announcement 1 week ago, and now it's a 3-way alliance that we have. So we're looking to further leverage the strengths of each company and to make the best we can from the various 3 businesses. This map is probably a little strange to a lot of people. It's basically a Japanese image of the world. So as you can see, Japan is in the center of the globe. So if you're used to a normal world map, probably a little bit different. But all I intend to do is show where we're based, where we operate from, and to focus mainly on the European market for my presentation. So as probably most people are aware, we have our biggest production plant in Europe in Sunderland, which was 10 years in a row the biggest UK vehicle producer. But as Ian said, we were toppled last year. We don't want to be in second place anymore, so we're going to fight strongly to get that position back. So we're trying to exploit all of our European plants to increase our volume of vehicles that we put on the market. So we have plants in Barcelona in Spain and 3 facilities in Russia that are all also part of our European business. So coming home to the UK, so I think you can see probably anyone who knows the Sunderland facility, this photo is a little bit out of date now. We've gained a few more wind turbines since that photo. And from my office in Cranfield, close to Milton Keynes, which is our design development centre for the European market. So basically onto the challenges for the auto industry. So what is the issues that's going to be facing us? So basically the changing use requirements. We're no longer car manufacturers. We're suppliers of personal mobility solutions. As Ian mentioned, there are a lot of changes with the customer base that we are going to be facing. Connected car and autonomous drive is going to make huge differences. One of the big challenges we're going to be facing in the future is the availability of energy and raw materials. We're already starting to see issues with energy price rises, shortages of certain materials. This is going to be a big challenge for us. We all need to be aware of that and to be able to plan and develop vehicles to take that into account. Also, the requirements of our customers are considerably changing. Also, the legislators are applying more control over the auto industry. No doubt everyone is aware of Dieselgate and the complete swing in engine technology that's taken place over the last couple of years. But there's going to be even bigger changes. In the short term, the main drive for us is taking the weight out of the vehicle, which I'll explain a little bit more detail in the next couple of slides. In the medium term, it's the new powertrain systems that we're going to be applying. So fuel cell vehicles, hybrid and fully electric vehicles will be the big challenges that we're facing over the next few years. I don't expect anyone to be able to read and comprehend that slide. It's purely to show you how complex the legislation is that we have to face together as the automotive and the polymer industry. We've got to meet all of these requirements to satisfy our customers and the legislators. The big drive for us is basically the future tailpipe emission requirement, 95 grams per kilometre, 2020. That's not so far in future. Probably the vehicles that we're putting on the market now will still be on the market in 3 years' time. So the activities that's been driving the reduction in fuel consumption and emissions will still be there in place. So direction we're taking is smaller engines, replacing a lot of the metal, consolidating parts, and basically moving to lighter weight solutions wherever possible and optimizing our vehicle. So probably as you can see at the bottom of the slide, one of our Qashqai models just achieves the target. We then need a vehicle like the Leaf, which has zero emissions, to offset some of our more high performance luxury vehicles. Something like a GTR model is probably 3 times that level of emission. So we'd have to sell 3 or 4 Leafs to offset and bring that GTR down to the 95 level. So that's a huge challenge for Nissan, for the whole auto industry. A little bit of bedside reading I would recommend for people is the Automotive Council's roadmap for the future. This maps out to 2040 the type of technologies we'll be looking at. I don't want to try and do the crystal ball glazing by myself. There are 4 more expert people in the industry who've contributed to that position paper, so definitely worth looking at. Similar to what Ian said, the growth in the UK auto industry, there are very strong predictions for 25% growth over the next 3 to 4 years. So far from being a dead industry, it's a growth industry, one where everyone should be engaging and supporting. In order to continue that growth, basically we need to get weight out of vehicles. We need to match the technology to our customer requirements. One of the big predictions is for the next 10 years, that will be the biggest period of innovation the auto industry has seen in the last decade. So the last 100 years, basically, we've seen a lot of changes. The next 10 years, huge amount more additional items. So just set a little bit background of what materials we use. Going back in history, 1900s, vehicles were essentially made out of wood, horseless carriages. As we've gone through to the 70s, a lot more steel appearing in the vehicle, basically low strength steels. Moving forwards, where we are today, there's still steel, a lot more high strength steel, a lot of aluminium alloys and metallic materials, but there is a consistent growth in polymer application. We predict this will continue. So the polymer industry has opportunities there. The business opportunities are there for yourselves to exploit and work with us to deliver. We didn't compare any slides or any information prior to it, so I'm very relieved that the figures are very, very similar. For a luxury model like one of JLR's and one of our more mass market products, about 70% of the vehicle is metallic in nature. Second highest proportion is the plastic and elastomeric materials, typically of the order of 175 to 200 kilograms. So quite a big volume at the moment and predicted to grow even further. So where are we going for the future? What do we need to focus on? And what weight reduction technologies do we expect to dominate? Clearly the steel industry is going to fight back, as is the metallics. So the aluminium industry are pushing very strongly. There are more and more applications of lightweight aluminium for closure panels, things like bonnets and doors on vehicles. Higher strength materials are definitely a direction that we're moving in for all types of materials. Steel industry has pushed ever higher strength grades. Polymer industry, we're expecting you to be able to deliver the same technology leaps to give us better materials, higher filled levels, better strength properties. Composites. It's been the buzzword probably for 20, 25 years. We're following the aerospace industry, trying to use composites where we can. But the technology isn't there yet for mass manufacture, mass production. And the cost level isn't there yet. But it is definitely a technology we are looking at very closely and we're looking to exploit. But one of the biggest drivers there is basically how you join composite panels to steel, to aluminium, because the vehicle of the future is going to be a mixture of different types of materials. And how you integrate these material combinations is going to be the secret for the success of future manufacturing and repair and use of the vehicle in the market. Again, another slide I don't expect you to go into in a lot of detail, but it's just to highlight and contrast the differences between the Asian market, the North American market, and the European market. The European market, there are many more material types that's been investigated and studied, and there are more opportunity here in Europe to try out different technologies, which is why we're pushing strongly many different areas of material application on our European products. Also, the type of applications of those materials and where we're applying them. For polymeric material and plastics, it's basically moved from basic interior trim parts to highly advanced engine components, crash members, crash products, and more challenges, and that's where we see the future moving. But what we need to achieve is the weight and the cost with these materials, and to be able to make everything into one lightweight package. So what are the challenges for yourselves in the polymer industry? Where do you have an opportunity to contribute and support the OEMs for the car manufacturing? Following on from a couple of the points that Ian made for JLR, we need to combine together the material, the design, and the processes. We've got to have the right material with the right design of part for the right application and to suit our manufacturing processes. The only way we can do that is if we all work together to develop the new technologies, the new applications. The door is always open. We need to start the communication and improve it from where we are at the moment to be able to push forward. The OEM can make several suggestions and pointers, but it's everyone working together that will push the technology. Again, quite a complex slide. It'll be in a takeaway package that you can pick up from the organisers, so don't focus too much attention at the moment. But historically, there's been a lot of cross-fertilization of materials technology from different industries. Aviation was historically one of the pioneers, but now we're finding many things coming from the wind technology, from wind turbines. Their development of composite materials from automotive to wind could well be one of the directions to get into the auto industry. Similarly for some of the forming activities, auto industry, because of our production volume, has historically led, but this can be applied across other industries as well. So don't just look at what you provide for the auto industry. Look at what can be transferred from other industries. Even packaging material we widely use in many of our components to standardize and make mass manufacture more suitable. So as we've already spoken about this morning, the new propulsion systems will make a lot of changes to our industry. So fuel cell vehicles, battery electric, plug-in hybrids. There are many competing technologies, and I don't think anyone has one answer that is the perfect solution. So there could be technologies out there that'll be like a Betamax video recorder. It will be dropped behind, it'll be forgotten. But there are other ones that will go forward, CDs taking over from the old technology. But to be able to find out those winning technologies and combinations, we need to push together. We've already spoken a little bit this morning about the different technologies, and autonomous drive is one of the bigger issues. That has some huge requirements for materials, both from radar shielding and electrically conductive polymers. So there will be new technology requirements that will be required. Also, the diversity of the products is going to be a big challenge. The customers want increased personalization. Nobody wants the standard vehicle that the next door neighbour's got anymore. They want a different vehicle for a different day of the week. So one of the things I'm looking at is lifestyle vehicles and how to adapt and change a vehicle platform to suit how a person goes through their life cycle, from being a teenager just starting to drive through to being a more mature adult and requiring easier access and entry and egress in the vehicle. So we need to have that at the forefront of our mind. And one of the technologies that really attracts and interests me is waste to energy. Probably we were already very familiar with the Back to the Future scenario where an old banana skin goes into the reactor and the DeLorean is powered into the future. It's no longer a myth. That technology is being developed and will be coming along, and energy recovery is a huge activity for the whole industry. It's a growth area. Specifically for the plastics industry, polycarbonate glazing is one area that medium term we see as a great opportunity, eliminating glass from the vehicle. But we need to work together to reduce the cost of this material, particularly the clear coating technology. Its manufacturing process, there's opportunities there for vast amounts of material on the vehicle. Also for the new powertrains, for fuel cells, chemical resistance and the physical properties at higher temperature is very, very important. And there are many new technologies that will be competing. You're probably all aware of things like carbon nanotubes, some of the polymer foams and aerogels that are appearing on the market. 3D printing we see as being a big opportunity, and a lot of natural fibre and bio-based materials. So there will be many competitors in the future. So as a quick summary of my activities, I know I've gone through very, very quickly. We need to balance the legislation and the customer requirements. CO2 reduction is a huge activity that we need to progress. ELV recycling and recyclability is an issue. Thermoset composites, this is a huge concern for us. Using these multi-material combinations that are very likely, we need to bear in mind, we need to separate these materials to be able to recycle and recover them. Taking the weight out of the vehicle, it's essential, and we need to look at all opportunities for weight reduction in order to be able to get down to the 95 grams and then the future requirements. 60 grams is already being talked about. It's not going to be that far in the future. Diversity of the product, that's going to have huge changes for the vehicle architecture, the powertrain, the personalization of the vehicle. Multi-materials, as I keep harking on about, is definitely an area where we are pushing very, very strongly. So things like adhesive bonding, riveting, alternative joining technologies, alternative material welding technologies are things that we're looking at. So there are huge opportunities, as we've heard this morning already from JLR and now from Nissan. Polymer industry in the UK can work very strongly with us. We can work together to make huge benefits, and the opportunities are there. There will be a requirement for huge innovation. Optimization of materials will definitely be required, and only by working together can we deliver the future. So thank you for your attention.